The sound of 3 gunshots shattered the peaceful Sunday evening in Oakwood Heights, a quiet suburb of Birmingham, Alabama. At exactly 8:15 p.m. on December 3, 2024, neighbors along Magnolia Drive called 911 after hearing the shots from the Washington family home. What police discovered inside would expose a web of betrayal spanning 2 decades and destroy the reputation of one of the community's most respected families. Reverend Marcus Washington had been the beloved pastor of New Hope Baptist Church for 18 years. His wife, Vivian Washington, served as the church's music director and community outreach coordinator. Their children, 20-year-old Jamal, a junior at Morehouse College, and 17-year-old Zara, the church youth leader, embodied everything their congregation valued: intelligence, dedication, and unwavering faith. Pastor Marcus could speak to your soul, recalled longtime church member Dorothy Jenkins. He had a way of making everyone feel heard and valued. That's what makes this tragedy so incomprehensible. The Washington family lived in a beautiful colonial home with white columns and a wraparound porch. Their Sunday dinners were legendary in the community, often hosting church members, visiting pastors, and community leaders. To everyone who knew them, they represented the epitome of Christian family values. But beneath this carefully constructed image lay secrets so devastating that Vivian Washington would eventually choose murder over exposure. When officers arrived at the Washington residence, they found Marcus, Jamal, and Zara seated around the dining table, each victim of a single gunshot wound to the chest. The precision of the shots suggested calculated execution rather than a crime of passion. Sunday dinner was still warm on their plates: fried chicken, mac and cheese, and cornbread, a meal that would be their last. Police found Vivian Washington in the driveway, sitting calmly in her car with the engine running. A .38 revolver registered in her name was discovered in her purse, later confirmed through ballistics as the murder weapon. Her demeanor was unnaturally serene for someone who had just killed her entire family. She showed no emotion, reported Detective Angela Brooks, the lead investigator. No tears, no explanation, just an eerie calm that sent chills down my spine. As news of the murders spread through Birmingham's tight-knit African-American community, one question dominated every conversation. Why would Vivian Washington, a woman respected for her devotion to family and faith, commit such an unthinkable act? The answer lay buried in decades of carefully guarded family secrets. The investigation took a disturbing turn when Marcus's younger sister, Nia Washington Coleman, provided police with evidence she had been collecting for years. Nia, who lived in Atlanta and rarely visited Birmingham, had documented a pattern of inappropriate behavior by Marcus's father, Elder James Washington. Uncle James wasn't the godly man everyone believed him to be, Nia told investigators. He used his position as church elder to prey on vulnerable women in the congregation. Elder James Washington, now 73, had served as a church elder for over 30 years. Despite officially retiring from leadership, he remained an influential figure whose word carried significant weight in church decisions. What the congregation didn't know was that James had a history of pursuing inappropriate relationships with female church members. According to Nia's documentation, at least 6 women had approached her over the years with complaints about James's advances. Each incident followed a similar pattern. James would offer private counseling sessions, then use his position of authority to pursue physical relationships with women seeking spiritual guidance. These women trusted him, Nia explained. They came to him during their most vulnerable moments, after divorces, deaths in the family, financial struggles, and he exploited their pain. Church records obtained through a court order revealed that James had been quietly asked to step back from certain duties involving one-on-one counseling, though the official reason cited his advancing age. Internal memos showed that church leadership was aware of complaints but chose to handle the matter privately to avoid scandal. The most shocking revelation came from Vivian's personal journal, discovered.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
Hidden in a shoebox in her bedroom closet. The leather-bound book contained entries dating back 22 years, detailing her complicated relationship with Elder James Washington. According to the journal entries, James had approached Vivian just 6 months after her marriage to Marcus, during a time when the young couple was struggling financially. Marcus was working as an associate pastor at a small church while completing his seminary degree, and money was tight. He said he could help us with the church budget if I was willing to be understanding about his needs. Vivian wrote in an entry dated March 15, 2003, "I knew what he meant, but we were behind on rent, and Marcus's pride wouldn't let him ask for help." What began as a single encounter evolved into an ongoing affair that lasted intermittently for years. James would create opportunities to be alone with Vivian, offering to help with church functions when Marcus was away, visiting during his son's pastoral duties, or arranging private meetings under the guise of planning church events. The relationship produced devastating consequences. DNA evidence collected during the investigation revealed that Elder James Washington was the biological father of both Jamal and Zara. The investigation uncovered another layer of family betrayal involving Marcus's older brother, Darnell Washington. Darnell had moved to Memphis in 2008, officially to pursue business opportunities, but police records revealed a different story. Background checks showed that Darnell had been arrested twice for domestic violence against his ex-wife and had struggled with gambling addiction that left him financially desperate. In 2010, he had returned to Birmingham unexpectedly and discovered the affair between his father and sister-in-law. Rather than exposing the relationship, Darnell chose to exploit it for personal gain. Text messages recovered from Vivian's old phones revealed a systematic blackmail scheme that lasted 3 years. "Either you help me with my debts, or Marcus learns the truth about his children," read one message from Darnell to Vivian, dated July 2011. Bank records showed that Vivian had withdrawn $47,000 over 3 years, claiming the money was for various church projects and family emergencies. Marcus, trusting his wife completely, never questioned the expenditures. The blackmail ended abruptly in 2013 when Darnell was killed in a car accident while driving under the influence. Police found $3,800 in cash in his vehicle, along with a note in Vivian's handwriting promising an additional payment the following week. The catalyst for the murders was a letter that arrived at the Washington home 3 days before the shooting. The letter came from Tiffany John, a former church member who had moved to California in 2015 after her own encounter with Elder James Washington. Tiffany's letter, written after years of therapy and finding the courage to speak out, detailed her experience with James and mentioned witnessing him in compromising situations with other women, including Vivian. She had sent copies to Marcus, the current church leadership, and the local newspaper. "I can't stay silent anymore," Tiffany wrote. "Pastor Marcus deserves to know the truth about his father and what's been happening in his own home." Security footage from the Washington residence showed Marcus reading the letter in his home office, then immediately accessing his computer. Digital forensics revealed that he had researched DNA testing options and had been corresponding with a genetic testing company. The testing kits arrived on December 1, 2024. Results confirmed Marcus's worst fears. He was not the biological father of either Jamal or Zara. Phone records showed Marcus made several calls to his father's house that weekend, each call lasting less than 2 minutes before being abruptly ended. Neighbors reported seeing Marcus's car in his father's driveway multiple times, but he never stayed long. On the morning of December 3rd, Marcus called his children home from college and asked them to attend Sunday dinner despite their plans with friends. According to Zara's text messages to her roommate, her father seemed different, like he had something important to say. Vivian later confessed that Marcus had confronted her that morning with the DNA results. "He laid the papers on the kitchen table and asked me to explain," she told investigators. "He didn't yell or cry. He just stood there waiting for an answer I couldn't give." Marcus had planned to confront the children about their true parentage during dinner, according to notes found in his pocket. The handwritten list included talking points about DNA results and questions about how much they knew about their grandfather's behavior. Vivian realized that exposure would destroy not only her marriage, but her standing in the community. Facing the loss of her home, her position at the church, and her reputation, she made a calculated decision. "I couldn't let them take away everything I'd worked for," she admitted during interrogation. "Those children loved me as their mother. Marcus loved me as his wife. The truth would have destroyed all of us." Security cameras installed after a recent break-in in the neighborhood captured the events inside the Washington home. The footage showed Marcus beginning to speak to his children about the DNA results when Vivian excused herself from the table. She returned carrying the .38 revolver she kept in her bedroom for protection. Without warning or explanation, she shot Marcus first as he sat at the head of the table. Jamal attempted to stand and protect his sister, but Vivian shot him before he could leave his chair. Zara, frozen in shock, was the final victim. Ballistics evidence confirmed that all three shots were fired from a distance of approximately 4 feet. The victims died within minutes from their injuries. After the shooting, surveillance footage showed Vivian calmly wiping the gun with a dish towel before placing it in her purse. She then walked to her car and was sitting in the driveway when police arrived 8 minutes later. When police arrived at Elder James Washington's home to inform him of the murders, they found his front door unlocked and heard a single gunshot from inside. Officers discovered James dead in his bedroom from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. A suicide note on his nightstand read, "I destroyed my son's family with my sins. I can't live with what I've done. May God forgive me." Investigators later determined that James had been informed of the murders through a phone call from a neighbor before police could reach him. The weight of his guilt and the knowledge that his actions had led to his son's death drove him to take his own life. Vivian Washington's trial lasted 4 weeks and attracted national media attention. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence, including security footage, DNA results, and Vivian's own confession. Her defense team attempted to argue that years of sexual manipulation and emotional abuse had affected her mental state, but the jury wasn't convinced. After deliberating for 7 hours, the jury found Vivian Washington guilty on 3 counts of first-degree murder. Judge Patricia Williams sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. "You executed your family to preserve a lie," Judge Williams stated during sentencing. "Your actions were calculated, cold-blooded, and without mercy. The community trusted you, your children loved you, and your husband devoted his life to you. You repaid that trust with bullets." The murders devastated Birmingham's African-American religious community. New Hope Baptist Church closed for 3 months while members struggled to process the tragedy. When it reopened, attendance had dropped by 70%, with many former members unable to reconcile their faith with the horrors they had witnessed. "How do we move forward from this?" asked Deacon Robert Hayes, who had served alongside Marcus for 15 years. "This family was supposed to represent our values, our faith, our community. Now we don't know what was real and what was a lie." The church eventually hired a new pastor and implemented new policies requiring multiple staff members to be present during all counseling sessions. They also established a fund to support other victims of clergy abuse who came forward in the wake of the Washington case. Investigation records revealed that 6 additional women came forward after the murders to report inappropriate behavior by Elder James Washington. Their testimonies painted a picture of systematic abuse that had been overlooked or covered up for decades. District Attorney Michael Thompson used the case to launch a broader investigation into abuse within religious institutions. The Washington case opened our eyes to how positions of trust can be exploited, Thompson stated. We owe it to this community to ensure this never happens again. Vivian Washington remains in Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women, where she has refused all interview requests and maintains minimal contact with the outside world. Prison records show she spends most of her time in solitary confinement by choice, rarely interacting with other inmates. The Washington family home was eventually demolished after sitting empty for 2 years. The lot remains vacant, serving as a somber reminder of the Sunday when secrets finally demanded their price. While the Washington family murders shocked a community and exposed decades of hidden abuse, the case ultimately demonstrated that truth, however painful, will eventually surface. The investigation led to policy changes in religious institutions across Alabama, better support systems for abuse victims, and a renewed commitment to protecting vulnerable community members. Vivian Washington's life sentence ensures she will never again have the opportunity to harm others to protect her secrets. Elder James Washington's suicide, while tragic, prevented him from escaping accountability for the abuse that started the deadly chain of events. The courage of women like Tiffany John, who finally spoke out despite years of silence, helped expose a pattern of abuse that might have continued indefinitely. Their bravery ensured that justice was served not only for Marcus, Jamal, and Zara Washington, but for all the victims who had suffered in silence. Thank you for watching this difficult but important story. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on cases where justice prevails over deception. Remember, the truth may be painful, but it's always worth fighting for. In the end, the Washington case serves as a stark reminder that no secret is worth a life, and no position of power should ever be used to exploit the vulnerable. Justice may have come at a devastating cost, but it came nonetheless, ensuring that the victims' voices were finally heard and their stories honored.